Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode, I'm pretty sure, 18 of the Curiosity Cache. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. I am joined by John, Chaz, and Noah today. How is everybody? Yay! Thumbs up, thumbs up. Noah, you doing good? So so. I see, I
Eh,
see.
I'm here. I'm alive.
Hooray! That's always a bonus. So, last week, just a quick recap. You guys were under the shop in the subterranean tunnels and caverns that you have recently found, and you found this massive chamber that has some kind of weird, maybe space time distortion. I'm pretty sure I heard that thrown around a couple of times last week, and you were trying to fiddle with it to see, I think, if you could turn it on or what you could figure out, and you realized some of the pieces of it had been marked down in Belki's journals in his sanctum, and so you had headed back that way, told Pratchya about it. You had all gone down into his sanctum that Braca had relocked with that mechanical lock, and indeed you had found that there is some kind of lamp that is in the city of Brass that is probably a key, maybe not. I feel like maybe there isn't an only key, but it is a key for this strange mechanism that's in the ground. Does that all sound correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I think so.
And then as we were wrapping up, Decim had gone and taken some of the glowing rat poop that he had found in the sewers to his rat friends to see if they could track down where that rat poop had come from with their little rat senses. And Bracco, you were planning on heading to the library to do some investigation. Is that right?
Yes. Unless it turned out that the rats had very urgent information of you know, what could be going on with the rats based on our previous experience. If
Right,
someone
right.
else wants to fill in.
Okay. And what was Freed doing?
Mm, unless Freed will do one of those passive if you want some company at the library, I could make myself available. But other than that, he'll just stick and help with the shop.
Okay. And my apologies to anyone watching now or later on YouTube. I forgot to hit the transition button. Everyone has been able to hear us but not see us until just now. So, hi. All right. So, because Tric isn't with us today, Doran is going to hang out in the shop today and kind of learn the ups and downs of how to work in the shop, but mostly I feel like he's just trying to get comfortable with what's going on.
That's fair.
Okay, so let's start with Decim. Decim,
Yes.
uh, in the morning, it's actually quite early in the morning, you hear scratching at your door.
Oh, well, I will open the door.
You open the door and there's like two or three rats. We'll go with three because it's not like it's hard to count. There's three rats that are standing outside your door. You recognize them as the small group that you had given the rat poop to last night. They seem to have somehow gotten into the upper floor of the cache and came to your door and were trying to get your attention. And they look up at you and their little whiskers are twitching.
I will gesture for them to come down with me to where we keep the food, because a good journey to gather information is always best debrief over something delicious.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you know that the cache doesn't really have like a kitchen or a dining area. For the most part, on the second floor, there's like a little landing that you've used previously as like a makeshift dining room. But you usually keep either if you have food that is your own, you keep it in your room, or you go out and get food. So would you?
I mean, if I've got food in my room, I'll use that.
Okay.
If I don't, I'm sure we have a refuse pile that I like to snack from time to time. I'm sure I'm more than happy to share in the bounty of this garbage.
Okay. So yeah, you could just have them like come into your room and you sit down and you pull out like a bag of granola or something and start chowing. Do you have to do anything in order to understand them, like spells?
It's not like a direct like language like we're speaking now. It's more
conceptual.
It's conceptual. It's like Trunk in Emperor's New Clothes. Squeaker, squeakin', squeaker, squeak.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have a whole like syntax or anything.
Sure.
It's,
so they begin squeaking to you while like chewing on raisins and nuts and stuff. And the general idea you get is that they could not find any rats that had left those spore.
Sure. Okay.
Like they're not really sure where they went. They like tracked them through the sewer for a bit, and then their smell went away.
Like away? Like
yeah, like away. It was weird. You get the feeling they thought it was weird too.
Maybe away as in it went in the water and lost the scent. Kind of away.
They chitter amongst themselves and kind of make it known that that could very well be, but who knows?
Well, a sewer is a good place for a Skrigic, so I'm at least satisfied that Skrigic probably has now a lair or something and is busying itself in making more progeny, which is, of course, why we exist.
It's important, right?
It's very important because there's safety in numbers, and I'm gonna be okay with this for now, unless I hear other advice from my friends here.
Yeah,
I will, in general, let them know that they can always come to me with information. I'm always interested to hear about rat things going on, in particular, rats that make glowing poop.
Okay. When you say they're always welcome to, one of them squeaks at you, and by its motions and the noises it makes, you get the idea that it's asking you whether or not you're going to feed it every time it brings you information.
I mean, yeah, obviously, like I like to share, and hopefully you will come here with just as delicious information as this granola.
The one that's kind of up front and seems to be their leader, like you almost see the smile on his face, and he turns back towards the others, and it actually rubs its tummy. Like, yeah.
Excellent.
So,
I'll eat with them.
Okay. So meanwhile, Braca, you've woken up. You know that there is the library that freed. No, it wasn't freed. Or was it freed? Who was
freed,
it?
yeah.
Was it Freed that had headed off to do studying on what was in the water? It was Freed. Okay.
Yes,
so,
but if I remember correctly, Freed didn't fully share that he was at that library. So
true.
I did. Did I?
Did you?
I think you had said why that you were going, but not necessarily why you were going. Like what you were.
That sounds right.
I don't think you were like, I'm trying to find the specific sea creature that might or might not be my patron. I don't think you said that.
Right.
I think you were like, I'm going to check this shit out.
Oh, yeah. Like, I wasn't hiding it. I just, didn't, think about it at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, because, of course, you wouldn't tell us about that because you're a sorcerer. You're not a warlock.
That's right.
Oh, no. He would. You are all, the people who he's, nude with all the time. You're in the family.
You were, in the
But
fam.
he literally forgot. He was like, yeah, I'm just going to go do a thing. And forgot that other people would be interested in this potential friend.
Okay. And Brocky, you do know, I mean, you've been here in the city for long enough that there is a library as well as a university. Um, I don't know if you've been there before. That's totally up to you. Whether you think Brocco would be like, I'm going to go research stuff, or even just be like, I would like to see what a library is, because the Iron Bread don't necessarily have those. And I'm going to use this moment to pitch what came out on Wednesday. Braca, if you haven't seen it, or no, if you haven't seen it, they released an official book on the city of the Iron Bread and have some more societal and cultural info. So I feel like I'm going to send that to you so you can
Yeah, I,
read that.
I saw that. I saw that it came out. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Yeah, super exciting.
Yes, that definitely wanted to try and look at it this weekend when I have a little more time.
Nice, perfect.
And I'm thinking Brock has probably been to the library before,
Okay.
looking for some books on tinkering.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, what he's looking for in tinkering would be much closer to, say, uh, IKEA instructions, as in all pictures, because that he can probably understand.
Gotcha.
If there are a lot of words, I mean, Rocket is literate.
Yeah.
He can read and write all the words in the main language here, but the whole memory and being able to remember it all.
Yeah. It very well may be that the reason you were able to build that lock on Belki's Sanctum so superbly might have been from what you gleaned from your time at the library previously.
Exactly.
Okay. So you know your way up there. You head up. As you walk out of the district that the Curiosity Cache is in, life is just abundant in its chaotic nature. Once you get kind of like a couple streets over from the cache, you've always known this area that the store sits in is a much quieter area. And you just walk into this flood of people that are going up and down the streets. There are people selling food and wares, and this isn't necessarily strange in the area that you live in. It's kind of metropolitan, I guess would be the word for it, where like you have shops and housing, and like people live above their shops and stuff like that. Excuse me, stuff like that. It's not all. It's definitely not like just houses or just businesses. And so you get to the northern area of the city, and the library is standing open. Obviously, they want people to come and read as early as they possibly can because they want knowledge to spread. And you head on in. What do you do?
I start looking for the. I start looking for the weird space-time distortion section.
Sure. Are you asking around for it, or are you just kind of like eyeing the topics of the areas you're in until you find something?
Raka is going to wander for a little bit and then probably ask someone.
Okay. So go ahead and do an investigation check. And we'll base that on your wandering, and then we'll see where that leads you. An 11. Okay, so with an 11, the library is huge, but you've noticed before, and you noticed today, that it doesn't have a lot of books, comparatively. Like, it does have a lot of books, but it's definitely not full. In fact, a lot of the outer edges of the library are completely empty, and it looks like they've like moved things around to be on the inside. And you've probably heard before that this is due to at a certain time in Shelzar's past, the library had been sacked, and a lot of the books had either been destroyed or were like they were taken away either by magic or by people like running off with them in order to protect them. Many of the books that had been saved and protected have returned, but a lot of the ones that either were stolen or were destroyed obviously have not come back. So it is easier to find things in the library because it is like a less massive place to investigate. However, you're not really finding anything that's about the space-time continuum specifically, or even, about like magical distortions of that kind.
Okay, so the next thing I'd search for is brass, comma, cities of,
Sure, yeah.
just to make sure it isn't just tucked in the metallurgy section or other weird metals.
Yeah, go ahead and do a another investigation. Oh, oh, a 0. Ouch. So yeah, you head over to the metallurgy section, and there's actually a decent number of books over here. Whether or not it was information that looters didn't feel worthy of stealing, or this was like a section that somebody snagged and ran off with and brought it back, but you don't see filed away in there anything that's like a misplaced book talking about the city of brass now.
Okay, so I think with a 0, Braca absolutely expected this to be the filing system,
Right?
and now he's going to try and ask a librarian uh, for books on the city of brass, and specifically explain at length that he was looking for brass, comma, city of, and thought the book would be there.
Sure. Yeah, so you walk over and there's an Asathi woman that's standing there, and you explain this to her, and she actually like reaches up, and you know how like people like put their hands over their lips to not like laugh or see them. She actually has to like kind of cup her hand over the tip of her mouth to keep herself from like snorting, and her eyes kind of gleam in humor, and she takes a moment and breathes deeply, and she's like, "Oh,
It's perfectly reasonable. It's a perfectly reasonable assumption.
absolutely. Let's go over here to this other section that talks about the various planes that exist in concordance with the material plane. What do you think? Would that be all right?"
Okay, if that's where you put it, then I'm sure you'll be able to explain it to me.
So she heads over that way, and every so often you feel like you can see her shoulders hitch a little bit, like probably in like laughter as she's trying to keep it quiet. But by the time you get to the section, she definitely puts her poker face on and begins sifting through the books. And like every so often she pulls one out, and you get this moment of like, oh, is that the one? And then she like moves it and puts it away, and she just shakes her head. And you get the idea, like most of the books she's pulling out are actually like just filed wrong, and so she's putting them away. So your idea of the city of brass being in metallurgy may actually have happened. You never know. But she ends up pulling out a couple and has a small stack and leads you over to a table. So you're looking for the city of brass specifically, yes?
Uh, Ideally, or anything that would be related.
And she plops down the stack and looks at the top one and kind of shakes her head and pulls that off to the side, and then pulls out the second one, opens it up, and it's just like full of weird text. What languages do you read?
I read. Double checking, and that's not what I expect to happen on Astro. Okay. I read Sutek,
Okay.
Shelzari,
Okay.
so I do speak the native language,
Okay.
and Orcish.
Okay. And that's it.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Okay, so this language is definitely not something you are familiar with, but it definitely has a lot of the we'll call it the motif of what you saw in Belki's books, where he was marking, taking notes about the city of brass, and like putting some of those symbols down in ink. That you definitely see a correlation, and she nods and kind of looks around. She's like, "Yeah, this is definitely what you're looking for."
Are there pictures?
Oh, let's see. And she flips through, and every so often you see like a fairly decent sketch of what looks like just kind of a bulky humanoid, except for it doesn't have legs. It has like air, and like its head and beard are a little different than you would expect. Like on a human, it's kind of uh, more thick. Great English, but yeah, it's like thicker, more like massively built, and has like this top knot that is like trailing off into the air, um, and she mutters something about gin as she like flips by it and keeps like looking. And as she goes on, she does find like a couple more references, essentially to various types of gin, but you don't see a lot as in the way of there are no diagrams. There are no. What do you think you'd be looking for specifically?
So I'd be looking for diagrams, any particular symbols or anything that may look like a rune that may
Right.
stand out. The other thing, which I would have uh, hopefully had an understanding of, but may not have been smart enough to ask, is what are the rules regarding, say, trying to make a sketch, a rendering, or otherwise copying a rune that I see in one of these books
Mm.
onto some other piece of parchment to take home.
Yeah, so she explains to you. Okay. So first, as far as what she's flipping through, you don't end up finding anything that's essentially like a key. You know, like the this rune means
Got it.
this in
Yes.
Shelzar. There's nothing like that,
Oh
and you
well.
don't even need to
Okay.
see anything that's like representative of the symbols that you saw on the floor. But when you do ask about the whether or not making copies is allowed, she says anything on this floor you can absolutely either copy yourself, or we do have scribes that you can hire to do so. Um, and if you need parchment and ink, we have those for a nominal fee. Anything, but you can't take the books with you, so it has to be done here.
Of
And
course.
anything that is in the restricted section, which is below this, is not allowed to be copied.
And curious. I haven't heard of the restricted section before. Would uh, at some point someone be allowed to show me down there, or is it that restricted?
Oh, well, you see, it's the books that are down there of a very sensitive series of natures that are better left not open to the public. Um, so we don't tend to let anyone down there. She just kind of like has an awkward silence afterwards because she doesn't know like how to otherwise tell you no.
They're they're of a sensitive nature. Are they stories of magic, stories of the divine,
She kind of
stories of meditation?
glances around. Not so much stories as there can be books that have instructions on various rites and rituals that are better left not carried out, and so those books have been locked away.
That sounds very wise. Thank you for preserving that which needs to be preserved, but also safeguarding that which needs to be safeguarded.
Yes, we do enjoy our city standing as opposed to uh, being blasted into oblivion or overrun by the undead.
Yes, living in the desert is quite a harsh life. It's not everyone is suited for it. So I would
Absolutely.
I, so Braca would like to try and, among other things, um, get some uh, parchment to be able to write down the names or whatever seems to be the equivalent of the names of these books. So at some point, and maybe try and copy down a word or two that seems to appear a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that way he could get a sample of, okay, this is the book, so I can try and find it again.
Mm-hmm.
And also something else to show. It's like, oh, I recognize that language. It's blah bitty blah.
Right. Yeah. So if you just need scratch paper, they don't even like have a fee for that. You can just get.
Yes. I'm just looking for scratch
Perfect.
paper for that purpose.
So the book that she had for you, the best you can really do with it is try to mimic the letters. it's not so
Yep.
much
Yes.
It's not like a book written in another language that has an English title slapped on the front.
Oh,
Like
that's entirely what I'm expecting.
Okay, cool.
Brock is
So-
trying to.
yeah, you managed to do that, and then the one below that. Do you look through that one? She didn't like open it or anything. Do you want to go through that one as well?
Yes.
Do you want her to wait for you while you do that, or is she not needed any longer?
Either way.
Okay. She's more than happy to wait if you need her. Otherwise, she does
that-
have other
that'd be great
duties. Okay. So she kind of goes around and she's nearby and she's doing more of like the reorganizing. Obviously, this book doesn't go here; it goes over here, and you hear her mutter to herself every so often. The book below that is written in Shalzari, and it seems to be more of a history book as opposed to any kind of like arcane subject or like instruction book or anything like that. It talks about the history of the Empire of the Flame, which was built very heavily upon the shoulders of sorcerers that bound genies to themselves and gained more power, and essentially between the sorcerers and the genies they were able to defend the Elzen Empire and the Empire of Flame for hundreds of years, and they expanded it all the way over to, I'm pretty sure it reached the western coast or came pretty darn close. And now like Shelzar is like kind of like a city state. There's a small area around it called Shelzar. It talks about an area that you now know is called Zathisk, but it's talking about it being a part of the El's Empire, and it talks about cities you've never even heard of. What is of interest to you when it talks about that is it has a fairly rough map of the region, but it marks these cities that in fact, you've traveled through some of those areas, and those cities are definitely not at least standing any longer. They're not inhabited. And then you continue on, and it talks about it has a very small blurb about the city of Brass, mostly in a way that it seems like an agreement was reached with this plane, like the rulers of this plane, and not the rulers. You get the feeling it's not really the rulers of the Empire of Flame, but those who held a good amount of power in the Empire itself, that were sorcerers, and it actually goes so far as to name some of them as their genie companions, I guess is the best word for it. Make me a history check. Okay. It's all very like it's written very this was an agreement that they all came to. Obviously the genie wanted to be there, and they all had a common goal, and the book essentially ends. It looked like it was supposed to be longer. There's some blank pages, but they never. It wasn't completed.
Okay. And I think Bronco would also try to reproduce that map because, well, for the Curiosity Cache's main day job, having that map might prove useful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, one other thing of importance that I forgot. There is a lot of talk about, even though the Jin were the, we'll call it the strong arm of the Empire. Like the Empire was dedicated to Thulkas, which was a one of the Titans. Um, and having lived in Shelzar for a while, I feel like you definitely have heard the, like the Empire Flame is a deep part of Shelzar history. Like this was kind of its seat of power for the longest time, um, or at least it had a lot of power here. And there are rumors that this still exists. Like even though the genie are gone, and sorcerers can no longer summon them the way they could or bind them. The We're gonna go with a cult-like following grew up after the fall of the Empire, and that cult probably still exists in Shelzar.
Okay.
Okay.
Are they friendly, just very very fervent, or are they more of the uh, occasionally they sacrifice people type cult?
Let's do one more history check, because why not, right?
All right, my last 2 intelligence checks have been a
Right.
combined 1.
A combined 1. You could do it. And we add 1 to that total. Yay! Today is not your friend on the astral rolling. Okay, so I will give you even with your 1. So first of all, Thulkas made the Sutak, which technically you are. The Ironbred are...
No, I'm not.
right.
No.
The Ironbred are a cultural divergence, and so somewhere back in history, Thulkas created your people. So you definitely know who Thulkas is. But as far as whether or not the cult is friendly or nefarious, you're not really sure. Most of any rumors you hear about it are just kind of like laughed off, that like somebody's all like, oh well, the cult of the Empire of Flame, blah blah blah, and somebody just laughs, haha, that's so long ago. You've never really heard anything that's like, oh, if the Empire was still around, they'd be sacrificing virgins today, huzzah. You never heard anything quite like that. So yeah. As Braca marinates in the information that he has learned, what is Freed doing?
Freed is just hanging out, helping out the store.
Okay. Mariah has been following you around, and like she's showing you all of the great things that she's learned, like how to sweep and how to pick up these things over here, and how to make the store look like it's got a lot of merchandise in it, even though it doesn't. She is so ecstatic to be here, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like all of these things she's talking about, you're like, God, I hate doing those things.
Yeah, but I have to feign the excitement. And I want to start this is what I want to do, okay? I want to really get into oh my God, you're so good at sweeping, really get her into that.
Yeah.
And then I want to start implanting the idea that we shouldn't let other people mess up this thing. It gets us really mad when we sweep and other people mess up our sweeping. Just to start building that rage within her.
Right, yeah. Because how are you going to have a barbarian warlock halfling if you don't?
Gotta start early.
Right?
But mostly today's the first day. It's most just encouraging her because she's had a rough time with those asshole kids. So.
Right. Okay. So after a while, Decim and Braca all come back. I mean, Decim's upstairs, but he comes down, and Braca comes back to the shop. What do you feel like the direction is from here?
I show my friends the sketch of this weird writing. I'm like, any of you recognize this?
That's a good question. Freed, what languages do you read?
I think it's just, where is it? Like Eshik and then Shelzari, and what's the other one? What's the common one we all speak?
Lydian.
And Lydian, yeah.
Okay.
Just those three.
Okay. And Decim?
Decim speaks Slytherin. He's getting better at speaking Lydian. And he speaks Titan speech.
Okay. None of you recognize the wording in the books. In the book. Or rather, the sketch of the book.
Yeah, that's something.
I will give. Are either of you proficient in Arcana, Decim or Freed?
Yes.
I think Freed,
Yes.
yeah.
Go ahead and make Arcana checks.
Arcana.
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 15 for Decim. And 13 for Freed. So both of you definitely feel like you saw symbols that were similar to this when you were in the very large chamber. And in fact, Decim, you realize there was writing over one of the doors, if you remember that. And you're pretty sure that these symbols are at least in the same language family. A couple of them look really familiar, but you're not really sure. Is that what would that translate to in Lydian? I don't know, or even Slytherin. But you're pretty sure that at least a couple of them did show up in that phrase that was above the door.
Like a pattern of some sort.
Yeah.
Probably somebody who can speak this language. There's always, if there's a language, there's someone who can speak it.
Not always, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's a language, someone can speak it.
What if it's a dead language?
Then the dead speak it.
Oh, I like it.
Remember where we are.
So, where would you go to find people who speak a weird, squiggly language that is in a book and on a floor underground?
Are you asking me, or are you saying that just generally out loud as a character?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I mean, the library might have people who can translate it if they have someone who speaks it.
Was Dr. Zagini a fairly smart person?
I mean, Dr. Zagini is a very charismatic person. He was the best salesperson you've ever seen. So, depending on how you translate intelligence, he might have been extraordinarily intelligent.
Well, I mean, intelligent if you believe you're intelligent, right?
That is true.
And if other people think you're intelligent, that makes you intelligent. Because they can't be wrong. He wouldn't lie. Decim perks up and says, we should bring that to Dr. Zagini in the box. He knows things like those words that have meaning in other words that we speak with our mouths.
Is this the same Dr. Zagini that gave you the creams and the salves?
Yes, and my fur grew back. Three times more luscious. Guaranteed.
Where is this box?
It's It's the big box with the people with the long sharp things that stab.
I want to go outside,
They-
like just out the door,
Okay.
and point in the direction of the prison and or jail and
Yeah.
or. Is it in that direction?
Yeah, that's the box. That's where the box is. It's the big box with the people who have things that stab, and sometimes kill monsters, but not always for hunting.
And Braca, having lived here for a while, you actually know there's a couple buildings around the city that could be considered jails or at least like holding cells because the city is fairly large, but there is only one dungeon or prison that like long term people are held for. But go ahead and do me one history check to see if you I know, right? While you're at it, could you pluck the sun from the sky?
Actually, here is a question.
Yeah.
Knowing some of the things that I, may have, shall we say, heard in my travels about the legal system and how to make sure I don't end up in one of these boxes, would that help my knowledge?
Let's roll it and see what you get. Well, geez, look at that. Okay.
You see?
So apparently the universe says yes.
Wow.
You do know that while slavery is not allowed in the city or in the region, long-term prisoners are often sent to essentially be on work crews, and if Dr. Zagini is still in prison, he may not actually be in the prison. A lot of the times these work crews are like they're down by the Newgate there's an area of town that's kind of falling apart. It's just like all the paint is peeling and all that, and there's like a current push from the government to get that area cleaned up, and so they have the prisoners down there like painting the buildings and picking up trash, and like there's one building that had to be torn down, and you heard that like that was all done by this like workforce. So if Dr. Zagini is not in the prison, he may still be imprisoned, but is part of this workforce.
Got it. And Braca will go ahead and share that.
Okay.
He may have met someone who was doing a little pro bono work, shall we say, and that's how he learned of this.
Fair enough. Okay. What do you all do with this info?
So he's working. He has a new job.
He may be working off his debt to Shelzar.
And he doesn't need Desm to help.
Well, he may want Desm to help, but this isn't a normal job. Among other things, there is no pay.
Desm is not paid.
Actually, Brock, I'll give you this with that. Yeah, an 18. So they actually do make income off of it. It's like a.
Hey.
Yeah, it's. I would call it like a conscripted workforce. You know what I mean? Like they are working off their society, but at the same or their debt to society, but at the same time they are like earning funds so that when they are reintroduced into society, they don't need to go back and be thieves again or whatever it is that they were. You know what I mean? They don't need to become thieves because of whatever. So Dr. Zagini is probably making more money than Decim is making right now. But you can keep that completely to yourself, just so you know.
So I explained that. So, no, I'm going to maintain my original story.
Okay, totally fair. I like it.
I'm not fully, but yeah, I'm not fully sure how to explain this to Destin. That is a very undesirable job. It's not just the work itself; it's who you're working for, and they don't let you do anything else in your time off.
That is absolutely true.
So we are not going to work with Dr. Zagini?
Yeah, but part of his job right now is the boss doesn't let you really talk to anyone normally aside for the other people you're working with and the bosses.
Desmond doesn't seem to understand at all, but
I just feel like he's standing there nodding.
Yeah, he just nods.
Dr. Zagini just told me that he does need your help, Decim. He needs you to help us, and if by helping us, you will help him.
Desmond is just nodding. He clearly has a job currently with Yi, so he's just now trying to figure out, well, if Dr. Zagini is too busy doing secret work that no one can go and help with, then who else can read this book? Oh, there is a man he is a long way away, but he had a tower that he had books in, but they are all burned, and we could give him this book as I'm sorry. But then he could read it, and he would tell us what it says. And also that I'm sorry. It's somewhere that way. Maybe a few times the moon goes over the sky and gets big.
So then we should definitely do that, but we should probably do that once we've settled things here, if it's going to take that long.
Yeah.
It took longer because the man on the horse had to stop many times to say things to people loudly. And then the people with the lutes would play a song and people would dance, I guess, because the man on the horse was there.
We don't have a horse or lutes.
Desmond nods.
Someone give me an instrument.
So we could find this man across the stars, or we can go and get this falchion to give to Pratchya before we leave.
Yeah, we're gonna need to make some money.
Okay. Yeah, let's see if we can get that. Am I advocating to go to the lava? I just remembered that. I'm just gonna stop talking.
Freed just stops and claps his
Yes,
hands
you
over his
did.
mouth.
And you were the one who was most opposed, and you fell into Brock's.
Oh, just gonna kick the dirt and wander upstairs to put pants on.
Freed goes over and picks up the dustpan that Mariah's been dusting, just throws it on the floor again. She's just like, "What the hell?"
Get angry, kid. The world is mean.
All right, so you go up and you put pants on. They're so constricting, so uncomfortable. What's everybody else doing?
Gonna squirrel those rats away into my bag. Surely they're still upstairs eating granola.
They probably took off. It's been a bit.
I think a safer place for them to be would be in the tunnels where the lab is. They could be lab rats.
But did you want to convince them before you left to not go elsewhere?
Well, I mean,
before
obviously
you-
they should go and do rat things, which is important.
Yeah,
for
well, and
rats.
if you want like them to report back to you on any signs of things, then they would have to go do rat things. But if you want them to go be lab rats, then they couldn't do that thing for you.
Oh, but they could do both. You know, like just bring in more people or rats into the rat cave to be lab rats. They can take shifts. Between living in lab rat utopia and also running their network of where is the glowing poop spy network.
Such a great spy network.
It's a pretty good one. It's cutting edge sleuthing that goes down there.
Excellent. So what's the plan?
Follow those guys.
Everyone's just standing around in the same room being like, all right, who's going first?
I will sweep up what I destroyed of Mariah's hard work, and then I'll bemoaningly say, "I guess we should go to the falchion." I'll get my my belt with my grenades, and I'm ready to go.
Okay. Any other prep needed by anyone else?
Bring extra water for Freed.
Okay.
Bring my alchemy bag. And gonna see if I can start spending some time with that document if Brocca is willing to let Desmond stare at those squiggles that he's copied.
Oh, sure.
Okay. So, through all of this, essentially Sajita's been in Belki's office, and because there hasn't been a rush of customers running in and out, she's just kind of been back in there. You haven't seen Pratchya, and Mariah's just been cleaning the store up. But as you walk out, as you go to leave, Pratchya walks in with a dwarven woman who I forgot her name. But as she introduces her, she's like, "Hey, this is my friend. We've known each other forever." And she's actually been one of the people who we hire to bring stuff back for the shop before. What do you all do?
I try and sell her something.
What are you
Head held
trying-
low, I just walk past.
She eyes you as you walk by, Freed, and looks at Pratchya, and Pratchya just kind of shrugs. Braca, is Fried okay?
I wait a little bit, then say in Orcish, yeah, I was able to get Fried to see that going for the falchion in the lava was a good idea, and he walked into the trap himself, and now he's feeling bad about it.
Aha.
He'll be all right.
Borla. Borla is the dwarf woman's name. And you notice Borla is like decked out. She's got several daggers on her person. She has a very fine sword. It's gleaming kind of oddly for metal. Like you're not really sure what it's made out of. She's wearing leather armor, but it also has little studs all over it of metal. She says, "Well, I was talking with Borla here about her going with you all to go look for the falchion. Would that make Fried feel better, do you think?"
Maybe, probably. I mean, I was just gonna bring him a lot of extra water and hope that relaxes him. Otherwise, keeps him hydrated enough to not collapse.
That's fair.
But really, I think I'm switching to Shell's now. Really, I think the only way that he's going to find some peace is once we find the falchion and get this resolved. So, all help would be greatly appreciated.
Borla like claps you on the shoulder. She's like, "Anytime." Decim, what have you been trying to sell her through all this?
Absolutely anything that we might have in inventory. I mean, I'll probably go through the spiel of selling things that we did have that I learned the words for, poorly describe various things,
Yeah.
and miscategorize things, and just
Every
doing
so
my
often-
best.
Every so often, she
Sell.
glances over you and smiles and nods. You feel like you're doing great, but she never really offers to buy anything.
Yeah, look apologetically to Pratchya as I am
It's
failing in front of her.
It's okay. It's okay, Decim. Yeah, she's not here to buy things. Which you're not sure if she means like there's no way that she could buy things because she doesn't want to, or because she hasn't been convinced to buy something yet. You're not really sure what that meant from Pratchya.
Well, I'll keep trying.
Yeah.
Usually, when they don't want to buy something, they leave. And then if they do want to afterwards, they come back.
That is true. And you get the feeling that she's going to leave, but she's going to leave with you all.
Oh, well, that's excellent. It's like a test drive, but we're well, I'm not sure how to test drive things that the inventory is doesn't, I'm not sure what to do here.
Yeah. Pratchya just kind of nods at you and is like, "That's okay. It's okay. We'll she's just go ahead and go with her, and it'll all be fine."
So, I'm going to kind of lean over to Pratchya and in Orcish say, "Did you warn her in advance?"
Of which part?
Yes.
Yes. She has a good idea. And Borla kind of snorts. You get the feeling she understands what you're saying.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Well, if everybody's ready, let's go.
Yeah.
Nobody needs anything else? Okay.
Just the bag.
So, Fried, Are you just like standing around outside?
Kind of, yeah.
So the coffee house across from you, like you keep getting these like scents of like some kind of like sweet, hmm, cinnamony, some kind of goodness that keeps like tickling your nose, and the sun hasn't quite like gotten overhead yet, and the so you're not feeling uncomfortable or anything, and you definitely feel like very zen in this moment. And then Decim and Braca and Borla walk out, and they're like, "Okay, let's go."
Play with my ring like uncomfortably and start walking.
Okay. So everyone walks through town, and you all remember that essentially you had last season when you were looking for clues as to where the falchion was, you had found that there was an entrance to a series of catacombs under the city near the old gate, where in those catacombs they had been used as gladiatorial arenas, and in fact you had gone up to the memory cafe called something. Through the ages, and you had purchased via selling some of your own memories the chance to watch the gladiator. Is it Darjun? Is that right? Relics. Falchion of Darjun. Yep. You had watched Darjun's demise. You're not really sure how these were created, these memories, because you got the feeling they weren't from a person's point of view, because it was kind of like floating around. But you had been underground, or the viewer had been underground, and they were in this lava infested area where Darjun had finally fallen. No one is completely sure, even though they've searched for it, where this area is. It's not on anyone's maps of the catacombs, but you had kind of gleaned an estimation of where it is, and so you head up towards that old gate to find this entrance into the catacombs. As the sun moves higher into the sky, freed, it becomes that unbearable heat again. And as you step into this entrance that essentially circles, it's like a circular staircase that goes down under the ground, that heat goes away, and for a moment you're just like, maybe this isn't going to be so bad. And then you think about the lava, and you're like, we'll see how this goes. Like it definitely is cooler under here until you find the lava. So as you all find your way about, just go ahead and make me some. We're gonna do survival checks to try and like follow the map that you would come up with, and try and estimate how it is really like laid out with the sewer that you're in. All right, we've got a 10, a 20, and a 15. Excellent. So Braca, you're really the one who's like kind of pushing for where to go as you're looking at the map. And you come to this area, like you've managed to bypass a lot of the active sewer. It seems like a lot of the underground tunnels that you're going through are more catacombs. They might have been. You actually get the feeling they were streets once, and there's like the crumbling remnants of like stone buildings on the side, but collapses have essentially filled in a lot of it, and so you kind of have to like work your way through these tunnels and climb over some fallen rocks and stuff. Every so often you do like have to step through active sewer that has crisscrossed these areas, but you come to this area. We need Braca, and if you don't, if this doesn't load up for you, let me know. And Decim and Freed. Braca, why didn't you go over there? There you are.
Oh, something's happening.
Okay.
Ooh. Dark.
Hit enter to center on your...
Yeah. Real
did.
dark.
Do me a favor and refresh, and just let me know what it turned off the dynamic lighting for you. I have a feeling
I can
that's what it
see.
was. Yay!
Look.
I see Freed in the lead, which, yep, that checked out.
Rocky, you're
Yeah,
just pushing him ahead of you.
No, I wanted to ask Chaz if that's where you think Freed would be.
He is. If he is in the lead, you would have to like every once in a while like just run back and like correct his trajectory because he's not thinking; he's just walking and.
You know, I think that actually is why Freed is in the lead, so Braca could be behind him and be like, no.
This way,
No.
this way. There you go.
So you all
Because
can
if
see
you-
the map, and I'm gonna, because I didn't set up for Doran not having his camera on, I got to do a couple quick changes so I can show everyone else the map. But continue telling me what you're doing.
Yeah, because I think if Freed was the furthest back, Freed might get a little lost, or
Yep.
And because Freed cannot see in the dark, what are
Oh
you
no.
using? You had that lantern. Are you using a lantern, or are you going to go for a torch, or what's your plan?
Lantern. That's safer. Fire is away from me.
Totally. Okay, so essentially, Braca, you get the idea. Actually, you all kind of get this feeling that what you're on here is a street that has sunken. Oh no, we lost John.
I think he's back.
he's coming back.
John, can you hear us?
Testing.
Hey,
There
what's
we
up,
go.
man?
Uh,
Welcome back.
damn it. All right, it happened again.
It did.
Oh,
And it's funny because I'm in the middle of changing cameras on the other thing, so it didn't bork anything too badly, although everyone is in the wrong order on what everyone else can see, but we'll figure that out later. So yeah, you get the feeling that these are streets that you're walking down that sunk long ago or were overwhelmed, or whatever. Maybe they might not have like physically sunk, but the sand and everything above filled in above them. So Braca, you're looking at like the walls and such, and the ceiling above you, and though it's solid, you do notice a lot of like fault lines, areas that are not necessarily what you would consider to be the most stable. And what you see is as you kind of climb over this like rock pile, you see ahead of you the street opens up into another street that has these like carved out stairwells, and it seems like there are some stone buildings around that area that are still we'll say surviving, but they don't look like they're inhabited or anything like that. What do you do?
Pay a good amount of attention to the ceilings
Okay.
for obvious reasons.
Fair enough. What are Freed and Decim doing?
We're underground, right?
Correct.
And this was like kind of a ruined
Yeah.
town, or
yeah.
like this.
It was definitely, you definitely get the feeling that this was part of the city, or maybe a city that was here before, that is now sunken and buried beneath what is currently called Shelzar.
Interesting. Any sign of rats?
Go ahead and make me a. Actually, so we'll do. You had a. Did you do your survival? Yeah, you did a 15. Yeah, you definitely see spore, and like there are some holes that you can tell that rats are using as like little houses, little hidey holes.
Just make a note of that.
Okay. And now everyone else can see what you were saying. Yay! Okay. So, Borla is kind of like skulking around. She seems to be moving very silently. And she creeps up. I don't have a token for her. Let me fix that while I explain it. Can you see where I'm pinging?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's crept up to about there, and she's looking at these to the north and to the south where these open doorways are. And so go ahead and move as you will.
I would like to emulate her attempt at stealth.
Sure. Go ahead and roll a stealth check.
Only so much I can do with horseshoes.
Right? Your hooves and horseshoes definitely like ring off of the stone. It's really difficult to walk in this area without. It's kind of like walking on a paved street. There's these cobbled stones, and your feet do not make you very stealthy.
I will join in on the stealth.
Okay. Go for it.
There.
An 11. So while your feet also don't, or your feet don't make such resounding noises, you do every so often like kind of flick things with your tail, like little stones that are bouncing off the walls and such. You're not quite as quiet as you feel you could be. What's Freed doing?
Just walking, trying to get this over with as fast as possible.
Why are all the dwarf tokens Durgar or men? I need a female, not Durgar dwarf. So sad. So sad. We're going to go with this for now. I will find a better token for her later. Okay. John, can you see the map?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So Braca and Freed, as you get to there, you can see into these rooms off to the side. Braca, you have dark vision, correct? Like 30 feet?
30 feet.
You actually notice there are like bed pallets like over here. It's a little far for you to see, but you feel like there's stuff on the floor up here. You can just at the edge of your vision see it. Maybe this isn't as abandoned as it looks like it should be.
Yeah. Are these bed pallets that seem like they would have been used in the last month?
You could go in and check. From where you're standing, it's really hard to tell.
Well, I still think that I'm being as stealthy as I can, so I'm going to go in.
Okay. Are you going on the south side?
Yes.
So you do notice that so there's not really dust on the ground down here, but you do notice that there are like areas where dirt has kind of built up. And with your roll earlier there, Braca, and noticing the cracks in the ceiling, um, or the fault lines, they're probably where dirt has filtered in and like fallen on the ground and then been trod on and kind of spread out. And then on the beds you don't see any of that dirt at all. So yes, you feel like at the very least within the last month someone has been down here, if not sooner than that.
Do I get an idea of how recently someone may have stayed here?
I mean, with the way that you're looking at it, like you put your hand on the bed, it's not warm, so no one was like laying there within the last several minutes. Uh, but not seeing any dirt on it, probably within the last few days.
Okay. I'm gonna try and back up and lean over to Freed and tell him. Try and whisper to him. And we can go from there.
Okay, what do you whisper to him?
That what you described, what Braca saw, that
Gotcha.
there are beds that have been that look like they've been used in the last few days.
You notice as you come back out and walk up to Free, you see Borla over here. She seems to be crouching down and like looking at the ground, but she's also then glancing up and it looks like she's looking up and down that street that is further on. Freed, Rocket comes over and tells you what I just said. Decim, what are you doing?
I'm following them. The dwarf seems to be leading.
Two questions. One, can you move your token?
Let me try. Yes.
Okay. And two, did you put that status marker on you, or is that from an old session?
Status marker? I don't see a status marker.
You don't see the two like chevrons next to you on the right?
Oh yeah. No, I don't know where that's from.
Okay, I'm going to just remove those because I don't think they're actually supposed to be there.
Pretty sure that just means that I have extra amazing abilities.
Right. No, you have extra because there's two.
Yeah. Never mind the pointing down. That's not a debuff. It's definitely a buff.
Oh, are they things like this?
Like what?
Oh, I tried to just put some on Braca to see if I was clicking correctly, and I failed.
I don't see them, but Decim should be gone. Okay. So, yeah, Decim, go ahead and move yourself up to where you want to be. And Freed, having been told what Braca found, what do you do?
And I'm the only one who's like blind in the dark, yeah?
Correct. Yeah, there is a aura of light. Let's see. I thought there was a way to put auras on you, but maybe I'm thinking of the wrong system. Let's find out. But yeah, you have an aura of light from your lantern, but otherwise are blind beyond that.
How big is it?
I believe it is 30 feet total. It's 15 of bright and 15 of dim. But if I am incorrect about that, you should let me know. Because that's what I'm turning on.
There we go. I have popped on the auras.
All right. Yep. So you see that aura that's on you now?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So that's what you can see.
Okay, so knowing there are more dangers than just the lava, I will suck up the sulking for like 2 minutes and walk out slowly
Okay.
Kind of as bait, because there's not much else I can do.
So as you get to there, you can see where this ledge drops off. And it looks like there is like a recessed street or something that sits down about 5 feet or so from the upper area. Um, you can't make out what's on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Decim, you're going up to check out this northern. We're going to call it north. You're not really sure what direction it is, but for now, we'll call this north.
Yeah. I'm gonna appear in the northern building.
Yeah, up here in the corner, you can see what looks like a bed pallet. It's really just like a pile of cloth. Maybe there were blankets and sheets that somebody just like tossed down. There's not an actual like bed.
Does it smell?
You smell from where you're at the door. There's a lot of like that kind of dirty, musty underground smell. There is a quite a presence of rats down here. Every so often, you catch a whiff of sewer because the sewer is nearby. You climbed over, or like crossed over a branch of it, not long before entering this tunnel, which makes you realize there is some sort of airflow down here, and it isn't constantly one direction.
Interesting.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
Oh, just interesting.
Gotcha. Let's find out what Brock. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so I was watching Braca see what he's doing.
Okay, Braca, what are you doing?
I think that, well, we haven't had anyone go all the way in the south area, so Braca's going to whisper to people that he's going down there, then check it out.
Okay, so are you going through the door down to here, or are you walking around the corner?
I'm going through these doors.
Okay, yeah. So you notice that this wall has a collapsed area. It looks naturally.
Okay.
It looks naturally made in the way that the ceiling pressure is pushing down on the building and has like blown out the wall, rather than somebody has like come up and knocked the wall down. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That wasn't clear from. Excuse me. From the map, I thought that might be walkable through as a player. So okay.
And you can definitely walk through it. It just like you can tell that's how it was made, rather than like you can actually see the ceiling has like pushed down the rocks and like everything's crumbled out around it. So it doesn't look like somebody has bashed it open on purpose. It's a natural breaking of the.
If it is walkable through, then yes, Brock is going to walk through.
Absolutely. Okay, so you head that in that direction. While you do, so Freed, Decim, you were watching to see what Braca did. He walked into this room over here. What are you doing?
Well, Braca, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna follow Braca.
Okay, and Freed, you also noticed that Braca walked in there. Decim appears to be following. Borla is kind of watching you all, somewhat studiously, and just kind of hanging out. What do you do?
I'm gonna just go by Borla.
Okay. So when you walk up next to her, she turns and looks back off into the darkness. So you get closer and you can see there is what looks like the ceiling has completely like smushed in up on this side, the edge of your light. the street and this upper, we'll call them the upper and lower street. The upper street is still within your light, and you can see down to there. And the lower street, you can't really make out details on it, like beyond these corners, because the light is blocked. But you do see your lantern carries down light to this area, and you almost feel like, in fact, you can see there is a spot. This area right here has water in it.
Do I smell that sewage system as well?
Probably not as well, because you don't have that enhanced smell that Decim
Do I
does.
think that's sewage water?
No, you could go check it out. It's a little far away to tell.
Okay, I'm gonna go down there then.
Okay. As you get closer, it's dark water, but it's not dirty water.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like what you would expect to find subterranean wise. Like it's.
Gotcha. But yeah, we'll just stand next to the water and like take in that aquatic essence.
Gotcha. Stick your finger in it.
It's like
And you've definitely felt it is cool down here. It is not blistering hot like it is outside. It reminds you right now much of how the Curiosity Cache usually feels inside.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not really sure why it has stopped feeling that way, but you feel pretty comfortable. Borla is going to head up this direction, and she kind of looks like she's looking off towards the north. Meanwhile, Baraka and Decim, you come into this room and you find more of those bed mounds on this side over here.
So, altogether, how many people could sleep here? Between these two rooms?
Between the two and the size of the beds, you would think maybe 2 people have been sleeping in each room, max. Like, you couldn't see if they were, like, squeezing in, which you've learned. That concept you've obviously learned from Decim. but it's definitely not a... it wouldn't be comfortable, so you're leaning more towards probably 1.
Okay. Just kind of want to look around this room a bit for anything else they may have left behind.
Sure. Go ahead and make a perception check for me. And Decim, what are you doing?
Rummaging through, like, is there like any refuse piles or?
Yeah, there's definitely like some stuff like just kind of littered about that seems to be left behinds, or like little bags or wrappers that were on probably food is what it smells like. They're not like in a pile, it's more like haphazard where people are just tossing their stuff out.
There's no like general organization at all.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Like squatters almost.
Yeah. And Bracco, you don't notice anything that's been left behind, other than like the same thing. There's like some trash. You do notice that like this wrapper over here has like a design on it that you find familiar. You're pretty sure you've seen like you've seen these like food carts around town. They're not so much in the district that you live in, but some of the more blatantly, like the souk. The souk has these carts that sell food, and they're really like handheld foods that come in wrappers so you don't get it all over you or whatever. You notice some of the wrappers have designs that you recognize from the souk.
Okay. Yeah, that would kind of make sense.
Okay.
So, Rocco's gonna try and stealth his way out of the room and kind of just trying to walk quietly in terms of stealth.
Okay.
And basically try to flank his way to
Gotcha. So you're going to head down to the south.
there. Yep.
As you head out this doorway, you can tell that there were hinges on the door. Like there's hinges on the doorway, and there's like splintered wood, and there's like bits of wood laying around, but it's probably not even enough wood to constitute the entire door. But you get the feeling that like it was like crushed and fell apart. Where all of the wood is, you're not really sure. And you look out, and there's this short. Not even an alley, but it's like kind of like a short alley. You don't see a door on this other wall, nor do you find one when you step out on this side over here. And this is all smushed in from the rock above. You might see from there, let's see. Oh no, the thing doesn't work anymore. There it is, control. Yeah, you can see, well, he's in light. You can see Freed standing where he is, but you don't see anyone else.
Okay. I do the cursory look around for shapes and start walking back over there
Okay.
to reunite the party.
You notice that this area has like collapsed off. You're not seeing why, because it doesn't look like the ceiling did it. But as you get closer to Freed, you do notice there's water sitting down in here. This is a pool. And Borla comes walking down this direction and joins Freed. Decim, what are you doing?
Pulling Brock off.
Okay. All right, so everyone regroups around the lantern. What do we do?
Keep
Does
on
Freed
looking.
seem to... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess just keep on looking. There's no point in stopping.
Okay. You move where you want to go, and I'll let you know what you find.
What's our dwarf's name again? I completely forgot.
Borla.
Borla, yes. I'm gonna ask if Borla saw anything up to the north direction.
She says she saw that there is a tunnel that leads off. She feels a little iffy about it. The structure isn't completely sound. And for some reason, she feels like this might have once been a waterway, but she's not sure. And she's a little concerned that there's still water puddles in it. And if that's the case, where did the water go?
Okay, so then if she's unsure, I'm just gonna go this way then, and check out this direction.
Okay. And everyone can move their characters to follow Freed if they choose to. Borla will definitely walk along with you. All right, so you get up into there, and you can see that there are these two. They look like they were larger buildings than what was across the street, and they've probably. I feel like from where you're at, you can kind of see on this side where the ceiling has collapsed down, crushing part of both of each building. But you do see two open doorways, one to the north and one to the south. Okay. Make me a perception check for Reed.
I'm not good at things. That looks bad.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's bad.
And Braca, you're going to head to the south one?
Yep, and try to do the peek around the corner and go from there.
Okay. Braca, also make me a perception check. Awesome. Baraka, you start heading towards that south door or doorway, but to the north, you hear something. It sounds almost like ticking, or like metal tapping on stone. Freed, you also hear it, but you're not really sure where it's coming from as you step through this doorway. I want to say you're pretty sure it's in this room. It sounds more ahead of you than it does behind.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Not lava. Not
you
worried.
you definitely can't see it.
All right, yeah. Keep on walking, looking
Okay.
for a crack in the wall that could
I'm
potentially.
gonna try
lead us.
rushing in there after him.
Okay. So the only thing that'll stop you from rushing after him is Decim. Does Decim like follow Freed, and therefore is going to be ahead of Braca, or is Decim kind of like lingering and then Braca runs in front of him?
Yeah, Decim's lingering
Okay.
because he's not really sure which room to go at, like which person to follow. But now he has a good idea as to which room to go to.
Perfect. Okay, so Freed, as you walk in, you notice that there are a lot of stone shelves on this, like they're almost part of the walls. A lot of them have been crushed or like broken, like either completely off and are laying on the ground. But the ones that are sticking out of the wall look almost like they were sculpted from the wall or adhered to the wall in some manner rather than being attached. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Most of the shelves are empty, but in the far corner, this northeastern corner, a glint shines off of, like a glint of your lamplight shines off of something on an upper shelf. It's actually above your head, like the shelf is, so it's hard to see what's on it, but it looks like there is some kind of metallic tube up there.
In the vision, was there any metallic tube?
The vision that you watched of Darjun?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And Braca, you can also see that glint from where you're at. What does everybody do?
Are there no cracks in this wall?
So you see, like, this has caved in on this side. But for the most part, this building is pretty intact on the inside.
Gotcha. So this is not the place.
Correct. Yeah, you don't see that that crack in the wall that Darjun had slipped through. Correct.
All right, then yeah, I'm bored of this place.
Okay. You head back out.
Yep.
Baraka, what are you doing?
So, Braca would like to take a closer look first in this room, being the thorough researcher that he is.
Okay.
Yeah, among other things, both looking for a crack in the wall and checking out that glint in that tube much more closely.
Okay. So you get up to here and you look up on that shelf, and it's actually, because of the angle that you're at now, the tube is actually out of your line of vision, but you know it's up there. You could probably stretch and reach up and grab it, or if you have another way of trying to knock it off of there or something like that.
Yeah, I'm been working on my mobility a little bit, so I'm gonna try and just jump up.
Okay. Go ahead and make an athletics check. We'll see how well you do this. It's going to be hard to not get it, but It might be amazing, or it might just be average. It's pretty average. You jump up, and you like snag this thing off, and as you come back down, you can see that it's metallic, and you can feel that it's cold. It looks like a intricately worked, almost like a scroll tube. The top and bottom are rounded, and then there are just like all of these lines that intersect and crawl all over it. But what's weird is sticking out of the side of one of the ends. So not like the end of the scroll tube, but like there's the half orb, and sticking perpendicular out of it is this weird, it looks like several small pins that have been attached to each other, or like some kind of like very finely worked metal clockwork pieces that have been worked into a four segmented appendage.
Does this appendage remind me at all of a possible either key or tool of some kind?
It does not remind you of a key. And another thing that you'll note as you swipe it off of there is that tapping noise stops. And as you land and you're looking at it, it doesn't look like a tool necessarily that you would recognize. Like, it doesn't, you can't see any like obvious point of it. But it is kind of slowly moving. And that's probably what was tapping against maybe the stone up there.
It's slowly moving around in my hand.
So like you have this tube, right?
The
And out of the side of the top, this
Yeah.
like little weird appendage thing is essentially just going like this, and you can hear its like little clicking clockwork moving.
Mhm.
So it's not like the thing is writhing around in your hand, but like that little appendage is just repetitively
Got
moving.
So as I bring this back to the rest of the party, I'm gonna try and lean like this a little bit to see if it's trying to communicate in some way.
Gotcha. Go ahead and make a perception check.
Ideally, as the rest of the party, yeah, they may still have their back turned to me because they're walking away, but that's up to them.
A 9. The rhythm of it is definitely like persistent. It seems quite clockworky. And you can hear something spinning inside of it, but you don't feel like necessarily it's a message or any kind of communication.
But it feels cold, so I tell Freed, "Hey, got something for you here."
Hmm? What's that
Yeah.
thing?
It's the thing that was making the noise. It's a scroll tube with something coming out of it, and it feels like it's very much your temperature. So maybe it's something that you can keep with you, and it will keep you more comfortable.
I'm gonna
Just
reach
in
out,
case we run into lava.
reach out slowly and kind of like tap it.
Feels chilly, like metal that's been sitting in a chilly room.
I'm gonna grab it like a teddy bear and say thank you. And just kind of like pop it in my shirt.
So you also notice that like little appendage sticking out, and it just keeps moving. As you pop it into your shirt, it's definitely like you can feel it moving in there.
That I'm gonna see if I can break that off.
Okay. So you pull it back out and like try and grab it and just snap it off.
Yeah.
Do a strength check.
Well, with Freed, strength of 8.
Athletics if you've got it.
No, he's a piece of ice.
Oh, but still, yeah. So you like reach up and take the like little appendage in your hand, and it continues to try and move, and you can hear like this like weird grinding gear noise, and you just snap that thing off. As you do,
Then we all die.
little holes open around like the length of it. It seems like they're equidistant and spaced the same around as well. And a bunch of these little appendages poke out.
Drop it.
And it separates into several pieces. So there is two half orbs, so a half orb that pops off of either end, and then there are three circular, if you were looking down at it, but flat pieces that have legs that are sprouting out, and they all fall to the ground and begin moving about. And this is where I would say roll initiative, but instead I'm going to say we'll see what happens next week.
Oh, I thought I had like a whole bunch of metal things to keep me cool.
Oh, they'll keep you cold.
Right?
Also dead.
We shall see. So, any questions, comments, concerns before we wrap up?
We should have went to Dr. Zagini.
Oh, Dr. Zagini. All right. Well, then let's do introductions. Chaz, why don't you start?
Hi, so I am Chaz. He, him, and I study video games and storytelling and music and all that fun stuff. I am playing Freed, the Eshik, ice gnome type character, who is trying to look out for his friends while keeping his impulsive nature in check, but that rarely ever works.
Fair enough. And currently on the screen, Braca, you're labeled as a dungeon master because of video getting borked around. But who usually plays Braca? Noah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Noah Grand. You can find me at Noah Grand on Twitter, and I play Braca because, among other things, I am taking some time off from DMing after DMing one too many tier 3 games at conventions. But I write various things on DM's Guild, and go check them out.
Nice. And I will post links to all of those fun things on the show notes. You've had several new modules come out that you've either worked on or wrote by yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah. So a week ago, I had the fun tier 3 adventure that I co-wrote for the D8 Summit come out.
Nice.
So, among other things, at the end, the last scene is Beholder at the Disco.
That's awesome.
Spoiler alert, there is a Beholder there.
What?
or at the very least, there's a disco ball that looks like a Beholder.
That's fair.
You'll figure it out. It has a party.
And the person who is currently sitting as Braca actually plays Decim. Decim, tell us all about yourself.
My name is John, and I am a Irish whiskey distiller and part-time nerd, and play Desmond, the rat with a plan.
I'm not sure he knows what that plan is yet, but he's got it.
He's got that plan, man.
Love it. And I am Jeremy. What's that?
On Instagram, you can find me on Instagram at Distillosauros Rex.
Absolutely, and I will post a link to that as well. It is fun to watch your Irish whiskey journey over there. Although I miss seeing you at the table in person.
Sometime soon.
Then again, I miss seeing anyone at a physical table in person right now. One of these days, we will get to play in person again. So, I'm Jeremy Hochhalter. I run this here Twitch channel, WH Publications. You can also find me on Facebook at WH Publications or on Twitter at WH Pubs. That's all short for WH Publications. That's all short for Wanderers Haven Publications, my micro publishing company that does game material and short story stuff. Yeah. You can join me on Mondays on Plastic Age Plays here on Twitch, where Chaz also is in Travis Legg's Scarred Lands: A Family Affair, which is a fun. We're now on episode 4, or we just did episode 4,
I think so.
something
Yeah,
like that.
just in episode 4.
So if you have missed, it's easy to catch up. He posts them on YouTube like the week after they come out, so go check those out. And then on Wednesdays, Chaz on this channel runs Academia Chronicles of Porta Temporia, a Final Fantasy 14 inspired 5e actual play. That whole thing is so many words. I have a hard time actually like tweeting it out because I'm like, I need to really watch my character count. Which has been a blast so far. We've only gone 2 episodes, so go check that on YouTube, on my YouTube, so WH Publications, and follow that journey. It should be a good time as we learn how to be kind of like you guys are learning to be adventurers. We are also being taught how to be adventurers, but in a more, university,
Formal
higher education
type way.
right.
With, just finding out that the university might not be as squeaky clean as it's portrayed.
Right? I'm still mad at the other
They
university.
never are.
And if you want to know why I'm mad at the other university, go watch episode 1. So anyway, everyone, take care, stay healthy, stay happy, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you next week. Have fun. Bye.
Bye.